Here we are in Sefer Yehoshua, Parak Zayin, Pasuk Yud Beis. Today we're going to be discussing the importance of Rabbinic mitzvos, mitzvos derabanan, mitzvos from the rabbis, or commanded from the rabbis, not the actual Torah, and the importance of honesty. So let's start with the pesukim, and then we'll go into some tangents over here about this. Go back to Pasuk Yud for a moment. Hashem tells Yehoshua, "V'yomer Hashem Yehoshua kumleich." Go up and go. Why are you falling on your face? Chata Yisrael, the Jews sinned. Gam Avru as Brisi Asher Sivisiyosam. They also transgressed the covenant that I command them. Gam Lachum min Acherim. And also they took from the consecrated property. They weren't supposed to benefit from that. Gam Ganvu. And they also stole. Begam Kichoshu, they denied. Begam Samu B'Kileim, and they placed it in their vessels. Pasuk Yud Beis, what we're finally up to. Below Yuchalu b'nei Yisrael lakum lifnei oiveim. The Jews, they were unable to stand against their enemies. Or if yifu lifnei oiveim, they're going to turn their backs in front of their enemies. Ki hayul chayrim. And because over here they became worthy of destruction over here. Ki hayul chayrim. Lo osif lihiyoisi machem. I'm not going to continue to be with them. Imlo, unless, is Hashem talking? Unless tashmidu acherim mikir bachem, unless you destroy the transgressor from among you. You have to figure out who took from the consecrated property over here. Sudas David over here writes, "V'gam ganvu ilu lachu layin akol." If they would have taken from the, or achan rather, if the person would have taken from the consecrated property in public in front of everyone, hayu al kol panim yishavim kavod amakom lakavod basadam. You were able to equate the honor of Hashem to the honor of flesh and blood. But they stole so that no one else could see. So it was more of a problem over here. That's the idea. It's a relatively straightforward pasuk. We're going to add a fascinating elaboration on this. The consecration of the spoils of Yericho, that was a commandment by Yehoshua. Yehoshua said, don't take from the consecrated property over here. And using the spoils was a transgression against the Torah itself. Not just a personal insult to Yehoshua. The Torah says you have to follow the prophets and the leaders, and failure to listen to their words is considering ignoring the entire Torah. The great Rabbi Akiva, we have a playlist, the Rabbi Akiva playlist. We could learn the importance of listening to what the rabbis tell us. Rabbi Akiva went to great lengths to try to fulfill a mitzvah that was rabbinic. It was midrabanan. The Romans, they conquered Judea, and they had many cruel laws when they passed in order to subjugate the Jews. And one of them is you're not allowed to learn Torah. And anyone who violated that law would be subject to imprisonment or worse, death. Rabbi Akiva, the great scholar and teacher of thousands, he ignored them and he continued to teach publicly until the Romans caught him. They put the elderly sage into a dark cell, a jail, and the guards watched that he shouldn't escape. Rabbi Akiva refused to eat the prison food, and he would eat only what Rabbi Yehoshua, one of his students, would bring him, along with a pitcher of water to wash his hands before consuming the bread. The Romans had to comply with his request because they didn't want this famous leader to die out of hunger in prison. Preferred to put him on a public trial in order to generate fear among his followers and make an example out of him. One day Rabbi Yehoshua came with the usual food and pitcher, and the guard inspected what he was carrying and said, "What are you bringing over here? This is too much water for one prisoner. It's too much to drink. You're probably going to use this for his escape route. He's going to soak the earth until it's soft, and then you're going to dig a tunnel for his escape." The guard proceeded to pour the water on the floor, and he left just enough to drink. When Rabbi Yehoshua finally appeared in Rabbi Akiva's prison cell, Rabbi Akiva was already very weak and hungry, and he explained the reason for his delay. Rabbi Akiva said, give me a little bit of the remaining water so I can wash my hands. Rabbi Yehoshua said, but Rabbi, there's barely enough water for you to drink. How will you have enough water for washing your hands too? He said, there's no choice. Our rabbi said that we have to wash our hands before eating. This is our mitzvah. We have to do it. If I die of hunger, so be it. I'm not going to eat without washing my hands first. When the Roman guards realized that Rabbi Akiva wasn't going to eat unless more water was brought, they finally allowed Rabbi Yehoshua to do so and bring more water. Rabbi Akiva was willing to offer his life, not only for the sake of learning Torah and teaching it, but to show that fulfilling the teaching of the rabbis is equally important. That's the Gemara in Eruvin Chaf Alef Amud Beis. Rabbi Moshe Schwab Zatzal, Shkiach in Gateshead, former Mashkiach in England, he also showed how important the words of the sages are when he corrected someone at a conference who made a statement contradictory to what the rabbis teach us, to what Chazal say. He pounded the table and he quoted the Chazal. And he later explained that if someone contradicts what the rabbis say at Chazal, you have to protest. If the statement was made publicly, you have to protest publicly as well. When a snake bites a man's foot, the venom spreads throughout the body. Someone who breaks the fence, poretz geder yashken nachash. If you break the fence which our sages built around the Torah with rabbinic laws, you end up trampling the vineyard as well. That's why Shlomo Melech, King Solomon, writes that someone who breaks the fence is going to be bitten by the snake, poretz geder yashken nachash, to teach that the sin is like venom which spreads until it kills. The decrees of the rabbis are as authoritative as those of the Torah, Gemara, and Avodah Zarah, and Lamed Beis. And don't consider it that it's a light matter. Gemara and Eruvin Samachas. Let's talk about honesty. The second transgression that was done over here was in connection with taking from the consecrated spoils. And it was done secretly, as we just learned. Achan indicated that he feared people, but he didn't fear Hashem. That's a problem. Aveiro goreros aveiro. One sin leads to another sin. Not only did Achan steal directly from what had been consecrated to Hashem, but he also did so on Shabbos. He transgressed the prohibition of carrying on Shabbos. He carried the spoils from a Rishus Harabim to a Rishus Yachid, from a public domain to a private domain, which is a problem. We can learn from here that this lack of Yirah Shamayim, fear of heaven, would lead one to commit additional sins. The disciples of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai asked why the Torah is more stringent with a ganav, someone who steals secretly, than with a gazlan, someone who robs openly. Why is it that when found guilty by a beis din, the ganav has to pay double, he has to pay kefil from what he stole, whereas the gazlan is only obligated to return what he robbed? Rabbi Yochanan replied, clever answer. When someone steals openly, he shows that his attitude towards man and God is equivalent. He doesn't fear either of them. When someone steals secretly, he's demonstrating that he's afraid of other people seeing him, but he doesn't fear that Hashem is going to see him. Therefore, his punishment is harsher. One time, a stranger arrived in the village on the eve of Shabbos, on Friday, and Erev Shabbos, carrying a wallet of money. He realized that he needed to find a safe place to store his money until after Shabbos, and he went to the local shul and he saw a man that was praying while wearing his talis and tefillin. And he said, my money will definitely be safe with someone who observes those mitzvos. He approached the man and he asked, please, can I leave my wallet with you until after Shabbos? When Shabbos is over, our guests, he approached the man's house and he said, can I please have my money back? He said, what money? I don't know what you're talking about. The stranger didn't have any proof that he deposited the money. What was he going to do? He turned to Hashem and cried, Rabbeinu Shalom, Hashem, look, I've been robbed. The only reason I trusted that man because I saw him observing your mitzvahs. What's happening over here? That night, Eliyahu Hanavi revealed himself in a dream to our friend over here. And he said, Hashem, listen to your prayers. Tomorrow, go to that man's house. He's not going to be home. Ask his wife for your wallet. If she insists on a sign, tell her, I know for a fact that you and your husband ate chametz on the first night of Pesach, and you eat pork on Yom Kippur night. Apparently, someone who lies and steals is capable of violating other mitzvahs as well. The next morning, the stranger appeared to the door of the dishonest man's house, and he told his wife what Eliyahu told him to say. The wife was surprised and quickly handed over the money and the wallet to its rightful owner. When she related to her husband all that happened, he realized that wrapping himself in talis and tefillin was meaningless. Hashem knows the truth, and soon their neighbors would too. Taisvis, Gemara and Shabbos, Memtes. Someone who is a real Yerushalayim, who's truly God-fearing individual, is someone who displays his religious feelings not only in shul, but in a matter when he conducts his business and his ethical dealings as well. It's about serving Hashem publicly and privately. We discussed this in Parsha many years ago. If he's truly religious, he's going to conduct himself with the higher standards, both in Bein Adam L'Makom and Bein Adam L'Chavero, between man and Hashem, and between us and our fellow as well. They're both crucial. Hashem rejects a korban that was acquired by means of deceit. Stealing for the sake of performing a mitzvah is considered mitzvah haba ba'avera, a mitzvah that comes through sin. Such a mitzvah, Hashem doesn't care about it. It doesn't even count. Baba Basra, Chavav, in the beginning of the Lulav Hagazel, third parak of Sukkah. Chavetz Chaim said about people who learn from Svarim that are stolen, or on tables taken from others without their permission. It's better to sit idle and not learn Torah than learn with stolen materials. It's in the Lumud Ulamed. Beautiful idea, something to contemplate, something to think about. This is the parsha that I was referring to before. We discussed 10 years ago, 2015, original recording, rabbiblon.com, in Parshas Noach, 2015. The opening pasuk of Noach says that these were the offspring of Noach. Noach was pious. Okay, fine. The base Aaron on page 10, the Patakar, Rebbe explains it seems like this pasuk has a redundant language. If he was righteous, then for sure he walked with Hashem. Rather, this pasuk is teaching us that there's two types of people. One type of person, he's from and he's religious, he's pious in his house. But when he goes out in public, he doesn't want to be embarrassed that he's serving Hashem, so he acts differently. On the other side of the spectrum, there's a type of person who acts very religious when he's with other people. When he's alone, he acts improperly. A real Jew needs to act properly and he needs to be righteous both privately and publicly. The Mishnah says, Al tiyeh rosha b'fnei atzmecha, do not judge yourself to be a wicked person. Beis Aaron explains this to mean even when you're alone by yourself, you still need to be doing the right thing. This is precisely what our pasuk is alluding to. Noach was an Eved Hashem. He was a servant of Hashem both privately and publicly. He was a tzaddik in public. He was righteous in public, and he wasn't embarrassed to do the Ratzon Hashem, the will of Hashem. He built the Teva. He built this big boat, ship, and everyone was making fun of him. And also, while he was private, he also wasn't embarrassed to do the Ratzon Hashem. Let's discuss public for a minute. The Gemara quotes in Brachos on Lamed Hey two pesukim that seem to contradict itself. One says Hashem Haaretz Melo, the other says V'Haaretz Nasan Livnei Adam. One said that Hashem, he owns the whole world. The other one says that it was given to us. Which one is it? The Gemara says Lo Kasha Kan Kodem Bracha Kan Lacha Bracha. It depends if it's before a bracha or not. If it's before that we recite a bracha, it belongs to Hashem. We're not allowed to consume it. We're not allowed to drink that beverage. However, if it's after, then we're allowed to do so. It becomes ours. And the Gemara over there continues and says, "Kol hanene min ha'olam hazeh b'lo bracha ki lu goyzu lo kodesh baruch hu b'knei Yisrael." Whoever gets pleasure from this world without the recitation of a bracha, it's as if he's stealing from Hashem. Rashi explains, since he didn't recite a bracha, people are going to incorrectly learn from him to benefit from this world without making brachas as well. This is how he's destroying the Jews. Chaver hu leish ma'ashchis, the Gemara says, he's a friend to the person of destruction, aka to Yerovam bein Navas, which is very bad. He caused others to sin. He not only sinned, but he also caused others to sin with idolatry, as Rashi explains. So too, someone who doesn't recite brachas, he's sinning and causing others to sin as well. We see from here that we need to publicly serve Hashem. If we don't, we're going to be violating a fundamental Jewish principle. When we recite our bracha, or when we daven with proper kavanah, with proper intent, we shouldn't think that there might be someone looking at us who's going to see the intensity that we have, and he's thinking poorly of us. We shouldn't be embarrassed, as the Ramah writes, speaking of Shulchan Aruch. Don't worry about the people in Ma'alig and Love who are making fun of you. All of our focus should be focused on the avodah that we're doing in that time and the way that we're serving Hashem. Let's focus about privately. The Ramah writes in Siman Aleph, don't be embarrassed in front of people who are making fun of your avodas Hashem, like we just said. Also, he says, Gam behetzne leches. You have to go in a modest way. When you sleep, you have to know who you're sleeping in front of. Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is everywhere. This is where it comes from. Shivisi Hashem lenegdi samid. Hashem should always be by us. The Mishnah Brew over there in Sivkot and Zayin says, even when you're in your house and you're alone, you need to follow in Hashem's ways. As b'shosh u'bebezo behetzne gam kin yalechtim Hashem lokecha. Pasuk in Micha says, "Vehetzne leches im Hashem lokecha." In Parak Vav, we should be modest when we go with Hashem. The Malbim explains that we need to go Hashem with Hashem just like Noach did. This is the root of mitzvos this is the shoyrish of mitzvos bein adam l'makom, between us and Hashem. We have to follow in the ways of Hashem and sanctify ourselves. This is going to help us be humble as well. Modesty leads to humility. What's the connection between these two statements of the Ramah? People who are mocking the way that we serve Hashem and modesty, what do they have to do with one another? The Piskei Teshuvos and Siman Aleph Os Daled asks, what does being holy privately, publicly have to do with one another? The Baal Shem Tov answers, don't worry about performing mitzvahs in public when your performance is consistent with how you perform them in private. When you do everything lishma for its own sake, for the right reason, it makes no difference whether you're in public or private. Don't even think about the difference. Performing mitzvahs in this type of manner indicates and highlights your true sincerity and seriousness towards serving Hashem. This is the link between these two statements. There is an exception, however, to the pasuk in Micha about being modest. In footnote 20, Piskei Teshuvos quotes the Sefer Yichol Nekras Elokecha Yisrael and Chelik Hey, footnote 27, who quotes the Josh Moshe and Parshas Vayetze, page 24, where Moshe Feinstein Zatzal explains that in earlier generations we were able to be hidden and modest about our mitzvahs and good deeds. Nowadays, however, we have to let everyone know and show everyone that we're learning seriously. Tell them about the stock of the charity that you're doing. Tell them about the learning, all the good acts that you're doing, the Masim Tovim. Share these good deeds with others, and it should be an inspiration from them in order that they're going to learn from our positive ways. We still need to be careful, though, to do it for the sake of heaven. Don't do it just to brag. But if you think it will have an effect on them, then tell them. That's explanation of the pasuk. Noah was righteous in front of everyone, as well as when he was alone. Practically, don't be embarrassed after that we leave the restroom, when we relieve ourselves, saying Asher Yotzer, right? Keep in your wallet an Asher Yotzer card. That's what I do over here. Having my wallet over here, an Asher Yotzer card. It has the Asher Yotzer. Take it out, read from it, say it with the proper intent. Someone says what you're doing, you say, oh, we're saying a special bracha to thank Hashem that we could use the restroom normally. We're not hooked up to a catheter, etc. That's the idea over here. This is what the seemingly superfluous language is coming to teach us. That's the fundamental concept we can learn from Noach and try to apply in our lives as well. Privately, very important. That's the idea behind the Acham. That's the lesson that we need to learn.